Good morning, everyone. My name is Kara Heifel. I'm with the Illinois Restaurant Association, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining today. We have some great panelists with us on today's webinar called Crowd-Pleasing Menu Trends for the Spring. With us today, we have panelists from Sysco. Before we begin, I'm going to pass it over to our friend Maricela Zambrano. She's here with us today from the Southland Development Authority to say a quick word. Maricela?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Maricela, and I'm a relationship manager with the Southland Development Authority. I would just like to provide a quick little background on the Southland Development Authority. We are a non-for-profit organization with a mission to grow the economy of the South suburbs and to grow it inclusively. So we achieve our mission by connecting our business clients to programs and opportunities such as one-on-one technical assistance, connecting them to capital, and by providing business owners access to a number of other resources and services. Our contact information will later be shared with the presentation. So please, if you are located in the South suburbs and own a business, please feel free to contact us. We are here to help. We hope you enjoyed today's program. And once again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Maricela. We've enjoyed our partnership here with Cook County Small Business Source and with the Southland Development Authority. So today's webinar will be broadcast in English, Spanish, and Mandarin Chinese. To listen in Spanish or Chinese, please use the interpretation button at the bottom in your toolbar. This webinar is being presented today alongside the Southland Development Authority and us at the Illinois Restaurant Association in conjunction with the Cook County Small Business Source. The Cook County Small Business Source was established to ensure businesses emerge from COVID-19 intact and positioned for growth. The Small Business Source connects small business owners with expert guidance and support. Services that we can provide through this partnership are no-cost business advising, other resources, events, webinars like this, and ways that we can help small businesses throughout Cook County thrive and emerge stronger. For one-on-one business advising, sign up at cookcountysmallbiz.org. It's right on your screen here. It's free and it's super easy. The Small Business Source, once you sign up, will then connect you with an expert from their network. And among those experts are ourselves at the Illinois Restaurant Association and the Southland Development Authority. So after you do that, we have other services such as these webinars, and you will receive a follow-up email on how to connect with all these resources. Also, before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that us at the Illinois Restaurant Association, myself and our entire staff remain a resource to you and everyone in the hospitality industry as we continue our recovery efforts. Our staff is focused on providing guidance, assistance, relief to restaurants, bars, caterers, event venues, and other hospitality businesses in Illinois as we all work to emerge stronger from a tough past few years. We also have a host of different resources and vendors that can assist you and inform you about any current mandates, pro bono legal network, and much more on our website, which is on your screen, illinoisrestaurants.org. If you don't already get our newsletters, they're a great resource as well. You can sign up at our website. Now for today's webinar, you can use the Q&A button in your toolbar to post questions at any time during the presentation. Or if you see a question you already like and you want to make sure that's answered, give it a thumbs up and we will prioritize that and try to get to all the questions that we can with this great presentation that we're about to present. So without further ado, at this time, I'd like to introduce our panelists with us today. We have Todd Cohen, Manager Business Specialist, Ryan Nolan, Manager Sales Strategy, and Chef Fu Liu, Culinary Specialist, all from Sysco. First, we'll start with Todd Cohen. Todd, take it away.
Well, thank you very much, and welcome everybody. We definitely appreciate having the opportunity to speak with you today. So I've been with Sysco for 30 years, and I actually started my career working in restaurants at 13, washing dishes and making pancake batter at a small little breakfast place. And, over the years, worked my way up, and here I am 30 years later at Sysco and sitting here talking to you today. Hey, Ryan, you want to jump on and just give a little brief history of what you've done in the past?
Sure. So much like Todd, I started in the restaurant industry at 13. I've only been with Sysco for about 4 years. But before that, I was a chef, owner, operator, several concepts. So I've spent my whole life in the food business. both as a chef and an operator, and then with Cisco, both as a culinary specialist and now the manager of sales strategy and operations. So webinars like this are something I'm very passionate about, and I love being able to talk about food every day of my life. So
Right on, right on. How about you, Fu? Well, a quick 2-second history of your career.
Sure. I'm Fu. I've been working for Cisco for a little over 2 years now. Spent a lot of my time with a big restaurant group in Chicago, Let Us Entertain You. Really learned a lot from them and really carried me on to other parts of the industry. Spent also some time with some senior living and some smaller, mom and pop restaurants. And now I get the pleasure of working with Cisco and helping other customers and other restaurants and other operators to be successful. And I'm having fun doing it.
Very cool. So the moral of the story is that all of us are very passionate about the restaurant industry. We've all been in every facet of the business, and we completely understand the challenges and what it takes to be successful in the restaurant industry. And again, at the end of the day, like Fu said, it's about truly enjoying what you do. And Ryan's saying that he loves everything about food. So we're all in the same boat there. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the state of the industry, and then Ryan's going to just give you some great information about the Data Essential Trend Report. Chef Fu's going to discuss local sourcing and global sourcing, and give some examples of what we do to try and help those local farmers. And then I'm going to finish it off with some information about the new technologies out there and some resources that are available. So the last 3 years have been an interesting challenge, and looking at what's going on in the future, the nice thing is that restaurants are going to be increasing. The business is going to be increasing, and with that, as our industry continues to move in the right direction, it creates some challenges. So, we're always looking for people to come work in our restaurants or whatever our business is. And there's going to be more jobs available, which is great. We just need to find the people out there. And we're actually going to be surpassing pre-pandemic levels, which is, really good news. So we go on to the next thing, which is rising costs. Can you go back? I'm sorry. Rising costs. And the rising costs, that is something that everybody's concerned about. And today we're going to be able to talk about that a little bit. And most importantly, we're going to show you some great trends and some great ideas that we can use to help us offset some of the rising costs, especially with the cost of goods, which just continues to jump. The competition here, more and more restaurants are opening up out there every single year, which is great. And there's nothing wrong with competition. It's a good opportunity to keep you on your toes and keep you being fresh and coming up with new ideas. And that's what it's all about. It's about that competition. And at the end of the day, we have a new normal in our industry. It's completely changed. Everything's changed about the restaurant industry in the last 3 years. And that's not a bad thing. That it's just different. And we just have to be a lot more creative with how we go to market. And we have to be more strategic about how we create our menus and train our employees, and just how we get our customers to come in and truly have a great experience when they're sitting in our restaurants. So the next slide is going to be something that is very near and dear to Ryan's heart. And he's going to spend the next 10-15 minutes talking to you about some really cool information. So take it away, Ryan.
happy to do so. So, we see up on that screen right now, Data Essentials. Well, what is Data Essential? Data Essential is a service that takes, surveys independent and chain restaurants around the country, but then also uses AI and predictive analytics to kind of focus on what the new trends are going to be moving into the future. So when we're looking at 2023 trends, we're looking at data that came from 2022 and how things are starting to appear on menus around the country. So if we pop to the next slide. Can we get to the next slide, please? There we go. So what we have here is Data Analytics has gone through Data Central has gone through and looked at menus around the country to see where things are moving and where the needle is bending on hot, new, trending flavors. So, if you think about in the past, we have these things happen out on the coasts and eventually trickle to the Midwest. And, being in Chicago, we might be a little bit ahead of the curve as opposed to other parts of the Midwest. But it was always like, how do we find out about those new trends? So you travel, you read food magazines, things like that. Well, now we have these awesome services that are just taking hard data, hard numbers, and seeing where those things are increasing on menu placements and the trends that are out there. So we have that at our fingertips right on the internet. So basically, they've created a list of the top 10 flavors that'll be predominantly everywhere in 2023. And I'm not going to drain the slide and go through all of them, but some of the ones that really stood out to me right away, spicy maple. Very simple. Hot honey really got trendy in 2020, 2019, and continues to grow. Well, it's a very simple offshoot from there to go from hot honey to spicy maple. Just the idea of taking a good maple syrup, maybe something local from the upper Midwest, mixing that with some chilies and using it like in the photo here as a wing sauce, or, finishing that pork chop with it, or a chicken breast. Just a way to add a new kind of flavor to your bar grill menu, if that's the kind of operation you have. One other one that stood out to me was the soju from Korea. So kind of similar to sake in a way, being a rice-based fermented beverage. But the thing with it is you can have a range of alcohol all the way from down to like 13% ABV up to 50% ABV. So what we find here in the States more often than not, people are using that kind of 20 to 25% ABV, alcohol by volume, and using this as a lower alcohol content replacement for vodka in some of their craft cocktails they're doing. So, kind of a way to get ahead of the curve on maybe a new bar feature for the summer. And, you see ranch water on there, and I always got to chuckle because I just picture people taking ranch dressing and mixing it with seltzer water, which it's not. But I'm sure our neighbors to the north of Wisconsin would love that because it seems like a thing they would do. But with the ranch water, basically what it is it came up with in Texas as a way to cool down after working outside all day. So it's typically Topo Chico or a seltzer water mixed with some lime juice, a little fresh lime. And then, if it's your thing, throwing a little tequila into that, and you've got a great summer cocktail for the patio. Todd and I were actually talking about ube up there in the top right corner, that purple yam. It's not really a sweet potato, it's a purple yam from the Philippines and very much a part of their food, but they've been taking that a lot in the States now and predominantly using it in desserts because of that awesome depth of color, like using it in different pies, using it in different baked goods or even donuts and stuff like that. And just such a fun, while the flavor is great, it's very similar to a cross between like a yuca and a sweet potato. Nutritionally, it's similar to a sweet potato. So you not only get that great flavor and nutrition, but you also get this dynamite color. So looking at things like that as the trends that are going forward throughout 2023. Yuzu's been around for a while, but also a great accompaniment to your different salad dressings, to your different cocktails and things like that, and kind of getting away from traditional citrus. And then birria tacos, that has been everywhere and it's going to continue into 2023. Delicious flavor and just really gaining traction, not only on in independents and everything, but chains are starting to embrace it too. So that's when flavors exploded, when the chains started embracing it. And we can move on to the next slide from there. And they also include kind of 10 big flavors that are going to hit somewhat sooner than later, but not quite up there yet. So, pardon me. These are those flavors and ingredients that are really going to be coming into 2024, 2025, but a good chance to kind of get ahead of the curve. And some call outs on this one, verjus being kind of similar, like this weird cross essentially between like a vinegar and a wine. It's not alcoholic, and they take unripened grapes, press them, but they're not fermented. So it doesn't have alcohol like wine, but it kind of acts like a wine. So it could be a beverage. It's great in cooking. It's a great unique flavor. I'm sure Chef Fu can attest to that. Just an awesome flavor in Verjus, whether it be a red varietal or a white varietal. Predominantly we're coming from Italy and France, but they're making them in the States now too. Just some awesome stuff there. Black tahini, we're kind of talking about the purple yams before. Well, black tahini as well, using the black sesame seeds instead of traditional white sesame seeds to make the tahini, and adding that to your different dips or salad dressings and things like that, just to have that unique pop of color. I love the idea of the pickled strawberries getting more and more popular, something to do with unripe strawberries, but even ripe strawberries, you got too many of them. What can I do with it? Just pickle those up using simple sugar, salt, a little bit of vinegar, some herbs that you would like, and add those to your strawberries, let it sit in the cooler for a day or two, and you've got a great different cocktail garnish. You've got a great different garnish for a salad. Also on this list, and this was one I honestly have to say I had some naivety to, but white coffee. I had never really experienced that before. So basically it's a coffee bean that's roasted at a much lower temperature. So instead of being in that 450-degree range, it's roasted at like 325. So it doesn't caramelize those sugars in there as much. So it stays a much more blonde color. They are a little bit harder to grind, so you kind of have to have a special grinder for it. And then when you brew it, you're not doing a pour over, you're brewing it through an espresso machine or through a French press. But the flavor is a little bit nuttier. It's got a little bit more acidity to it. And I got to say, after I saw this, did some research on it, I'm going to go out and try and find one today to try. But then lastly, coming from my former chef's background, seeing MSG on there was interesting. So, MSG got a bad rap over the years for potentially causing headaches and things, but 30, 40 years on from that initial study, there's been a ton more studies done saying that that's not necessarily the case. And it's not actually bad for you. In fact, it's got a lower sodium content than salt. So there are a lot of restaurants now that are featuring MSG and even saying seasoned with MSG. Now you kind of got to gauge your patrons and your clientele if they're going to be receptive to that. But MSG does not really have the stigma it did anymore. It will be a trending item going forward for seasonings. Can we go to the next slide? One thing I really wanted to talk about too, not only foods, but we have to look at what's going to be trending in our diners and our patrons. And one of those are little children coming out, Gen Alpha. So these are the kids and millennials, and even a little bit of Gen Z are having the Gen Alpha now. And the one thing when we look at, the new generations that are up and coming, these are our future diners, and these are also our future employees. So we got to look at how they're growing up and what they're associating with and everything like that. So we think of like boomers and Gen X for the most part, didn't grow up in a very digital age. I'm kind of on that cusp between a Gen X and a millennial. So I didn't grow up with digital, but then in my teen years, I really did. But then you look at millennials and Gen Zs and now Gen Alpha, everything is surrounding a digital footprint, what social media they're using, how they're communicating, everything like that. So we have to make sure that moving forward, when we're coming up with these awesome new items, that we're selling them the right way to our diners. So embracing which social media platforms they use and targeting specific items on those specific social media platforms as well. So I just really wanted to call attention to the fact that we have a new generation joining us, and they are going to be our future diners. So it's important to look at what they're doing now and how it's going to trend in the future. And tying into that on the next slide, when we're thinking about those new menu items, not only on those new trends, but what else is trending out there, and we want to get them out on our social media, but we don't want to do kind of that same stuff. One thing that Data Essentials does that I think is really good does really well, is they do these things called MAC charts, or menu adoption cycle charts. So we can see on the bottom, we have things like inception, adoption, proliferation, and ubiquity. So ubiquity, if we look far on the right, that means like things that are on the menu all over the country, all over, people have embraced them already. French dip, barbecue sandwich, fried chicken. Proliferation are pretty close. Those are things that we see on the menu a lot, not maybe as often as the things in ubiquity. But what I like to focus on when looking at these slides or these charts like this are the inception and adoption phase. So those are the things that are really starting to see the uptick in trends and getting more and more place on menus and trendy restaurants, and going to be more commonplace after that. So this one is just on sandwiches. So, we can kind of see in that proliferation side, Nashville hot. it wasn't too long ago that Nashville Hot was on that adoption side, but now it's getting more of a menu presence. So it's moving over into that proliferation category. If we look at adoption, we see things like shawarma or, croque monsieur, that awesome French ham and cheese sandwich. Those are on the top of that red line. So that means that they're getting pretty common, and they're probably going to move over into that proliferation side soon. But where I really like to focus is that inception side. If you really want to get ahead of the curve, and these are things that are all available through Data Essentials, which is a partner of ours at Cisco. But if you are, I just want to drop this, if you are a Cisco customer, you can work with your sales consultant and the specialists at Cisco, and they can get all this data for you too, as well. But if we look at that inception side, those are those new ideas that are really going to be super trendy, or super, not even trendy yet, just really cutting edge. And then adoption is where they start moving trendy. So these are cutting edge things to get ahead of the curve on it. If you look at them though, some of them are a little bit more regional, like we see schnitzel, upper Midwest, there's a lot of Germans up here, we've seen schnitzel a lot, but perhaps if somebody in California is looking at this, they don't think of schnitzel as much as, the more German upper Midwest area. But we do see things like halloumi and, like the doner kebab from Germany. So these charts help you kind of determine where you're going to look in the future. So if we can see the next one. They also do it for things like burgers. Say you have a great burger restaurant, but you're looking for that kind of new and exciting burger topping, or new and exciting relish or something to put on there. These charts are awesome to look at and kind of see where the needle is moving as far as the trending flavors. We can go on to the next one. I've got one more, I think, of these on here. So also, not only is it sandwiches, there's also salads. So you can kind of see what the trending flavors are in salads, whether it be ingredients or dressings. And then lastly, after this slide, I also have one on preparation methods. So, maybe you're looking for something to change up your item a little bit. Say maybe you were doing a blackened chicken, but you want to keep the chicken on the menu, you just want to add something to it. So we have chicken on the menu, we already have a product in the restaurant, we can do a whole nother item without bringing on a lot of other expense. So we've got blackened chicken on there. What could we do to change up the cooking method? So, maybe we look at that proliferation or adoption phase. Maybe I could confit that chicken and, slow cook it in fat, and then pull it apart and turn that into a great chicken sandwich or something. So looking at these preparation methods is also a good way to see what's trending as far as preparations, but also to help you think about different ways you can use products you already carry. Now, if we want to flip to the next slide, what Data Essentials also has, not only are those menu adoption charts, but also these instant charts, where they kind of take different ingredients or items and analyze them, one based on their percentage of usage in the United States on menus, but then also how they're trending over 4 years. So if we look at this, these pizza sauces mainly being pizza finishers or toppings. So, we look at the top, garlic. Yes, a lot of us put garlic on our pizza. 48 or 58.7% of menus in America have garlic on their pizza. Starting to dip a little bit at losing, 1% over the 4 years. And I did want to call attention to, just for example, olive oil. 31.2% of pizza restaurants have that on their menu, but it's starting to dwindle. It's starting to go down with that 2% loss over 4-year trend. One thing we got to look at is honey, and I mentioned hot honey earlier. This is part of that trend. It's only on 10.9% of menus right now, but it's growing at a 90% clip over 4 years. So this helps you determine where those new trends are going to be by looking at that one menu penetration end of it, and then the 4-year trend. And if we can go to the next slide, please. This is kind of still with the pizza thing, but more of like your base sauce. So, people do fun things with pizzas, and maybe they're using a wing sauce or a salsa as opposed to a traditional pizza sauce. But we can see again that those over the 4-year trend are dropping. But if we want to get ahead of the curve and see what's growing, down at the bottom, the vodka tomato sauce, really getting hot and trendy as a pizza sauce. It's seeing it growing at 84% over 4 years. So kind of the end of the story here is, instead of trying to guess or read a ton of magazines and things to figure out where the new trends are, there's a service like Data Essentials here where all of it is at your fingertips. They've done the hard work, and you can just sit, research it, see where you want to take your menu the next time you're doing a menu change. And like I said before, if you are a Cisco customer, just please talk to your sales consultant, and they can work with you to get you some of this data. That's all I have. So I am going to pass it on to Chef Lu.
Hey, before we move on to food, a couple questions came up.
Yeah.
So one of the questions is, how long is the cycle of the map for the menu trends?
So the map charts, they typically update quarterly. Some of them are every 6 months, but I have not seen a map chart that has gone back further than typically 6 months. So they're pretty good on updating them on a regular basis.
Thank you.
And to the other questions, we will be emailing everyone that is on this or registered for this webinar, all of these slides, as well as the reporting. It will also live on our website, illinoisrestaurants.org. Please continue with the questions. I know it's a lot of information and I'm getting hungry myself. Chef, are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. So I'm here to discuss about local and global sourcing. Advantages of both, disadvantages. What we do here at Cisco. As you see there on your screen, we have a program called Homegrown. Homegrown is actually a local food initiative that Jeff actually, he's one of my managers. He put together with some of our salespeople, some of our district sales managers. And what we really wanted to do is we really wanted to showcase some of these amazing farmers and producers that are in the Midwest here, Chicagoland area, and really highlight their story and their products. So when we say local, we have a standard of no more than 300 miles. So that's pretty local. Some will say local could be up to 500 miles. But we decided that we wanted to keep it at 300 to really excuse me, focus on these amazing producers and farmers. So what does it mean to shop local, and what are some of the advantages? So some of the advantages, like I said earlier, local could mean anything, right? Does it mean the Midwest? Does it mean domestically in the US? We don't call that local, because product that you can get in California, still takes a little bit of time to get here, up to a week. So that in our definition is not local. So some of the advantages that we see for shopping local, there's shorter lead times, right? You're able to get product a lot faster than getting things shipped from international sources. For our restaurateurs, offering a menu that's geared more towards seasonality, that definitely helps with their marketability. If you are a restaurant that focuses on seasonality and only offer vegetables and fruits and items that are more geared towards that season, a lot of patrons appreciate that. And so it really depends on the the restaurant that you're operating, and if that works for you. Some of the other advantages is it reduces emissions. Buying a product that is an hour and a half drive from here is obviously going to be it's going to give off less emissions than getting cheeses from Italy or Germany and whatnot. So it's definitely more environmentally friendly. And with nowadays, we definitely want to do our part in helping out the environment as much as possible. Some of the other advantages, we're a local producer or farmer is able to check on quality assurance more regularly. And if there were something that was, incorrect with their product, or there is an issue with their product, they're able to pivot a lot more quicker than, let's say, a international producer. Okay. Some of the disadvantages, we can't source everything locally. We don't have local melons, right? That just doesn't grow in the Midwest. It's unfortunately way too cold for that. Again, being in Chicagoland area, there's a lot of fruits and vegetables that just aren't available, to us, probably, within even 1,000 miles of some of these vegetables. So, unfortunately, we do have to, not unfortunately, but we do have to source product that are a little bit further away. Some of the other disadvantages of being local is typically they are smaller producers. So, they're not producing cheeses or growing vegetables at a huge capacity. So they have to, they have to produce at a smaller amount. And typically that, usually means there's more of a cost for the end user because, the producers are making a little less. So they have to be able to, pay their employees, provide for themselves, ensure that their business is going to be maintained. So exactly because they're small producers, unlike the larger manufacturers that are overseas or even around the country as well. Okay. So what's the opposite of local sourcing? That's going to be global sourcing. Global sourcing can mean exactly what it sounds like. It could be getting products from any parts of the world, Australia, Asia, Antarctica, if they sell anything there, or if they're producing anything other than ice. Some of the advantages of global sourcing would be being able to obtain a large variety of products. Just Italy alone, for instance, you can get amazing meats and cheeses and pastas and flours and tomatoes and what have you. But could you, and because you're sourcing things from Europe, you are able to source things from neighboring countries. So therefore, freight is going to be a little more cost effective because purchasing in larger quantities will help save money. If they're a distributor in Europe, they can get product from other countries and distribute to the US. So there's definitely some advantages there. Some of the disadvantages, it takes a lot more time to arrive to your distributor, right? One of the biggest issues that we saw during COVID and thereafter COVID were being able to get products from certain countries. There were certain countries that had stricter COVID restrictions, so they weren't shipping out as much. They weren't shipping as regularly as they were prior to COVID, and that affected our customers. It affected our end users, and if they wanted a certain Irish cheddar, but the manufacturer wasn't producing as much, and they weren't shipping, or let's say it was the shipping container was held at dock for a lot longer than we anticipated. So those are some of the disadvantages. Unlike a local producer who can pivot a lot faster when product is produced incorrectly or there are issues with quality, a global sourced product is going to take a lot more time to resolve issues with quality. The fact that it takes so long to get to us and to pivot a large production scale of meats, cheeses, what have you, that takes a lot of time. So if there were issues with certain items, it's gonna take closer to months as opposed to weeks, maybe even up to a year for some of these global producers. Another disadvantage is if there are issues in political states, they might not want to ship out, or we might have issues, obtaining product. So each country is obviously run by its own government, and if there are issues there, that also affects our sourcing of products. So that's definitely a disadvantage for our customers, for our end users, for pretty much any business owner that is here in the States. And the last major disadvantage is there's lots of emissions. It's not as environmentally friendly as it is shopping domestically, locally. There's definitely more stuff that gets put into the environment because of shipping and whatnot. So those are some of the advantages and disadvantages of local and global sourcing. To kind of touch base back on our homegrown program and why we developed this food initiative is because
Can we go back?
I'm sorry, was there a question?
No, but I just wanted to go back a slide.
Oh, sure. So some of the amazing partners that we teamed up with, you can see at the bottom left-hand corner there of the slide. I just wanted to talk about some of our partners and how it benefited us and how it really helped our end users with these amazing products. Slagle Family Farms is an amazing family that is down in Fairbury, which is about 2.5 hours from Chicago. And they are raising cows, pigs, goats, ducks, poultry, chickens, and they're doing a small scale, right? And what that really allows them to focus on is really raising amazing animals, raising quality meat. And we partnered with them a few years ago when we started this program, because we really wanted them to be farmers, because that's what they do best. They are amazing farmers, and we wanted them to focus on being farmers, and we wanted to be distributors because that's what we do best. And Slagle, the reason why we teamed up with Slagle is because they developed an amazing reputation throughout the years with a lot of these amazing restaurants in Chicago, a lot of chef Ford restaurants really focusing on high quality meats. And because they had developed such an amazing reputation, we wanted to really team up with them and help our partners, our customers, be, have that available for them with Slagle. And so, that's been one of our best partnerships through Homegrown is really allowing them to be the farmers. And we, are able to offer all these amazing meats and poultry for our amazing customers. Some of the other producers that are in our program is Widmer's Cheese. They are located in Wisconsin. And through my role with Sysco and some of the things that I do, I help customers see some of these products that they don't normally get to see, because one, it's not offered in retail stores a lot of times, and two, with COVID and the way that things have been, it's been so difficult for our business partners and restaurant operators to really go out there and see new things and see, get new ideas. Like Ryan was talking about with the data essentials, that's something that we have at our fingertips that we can help our customers, and vice versa. I will help our customers by showing a lot of these products that they don't really get to see on a day-to-day basis, or even on a week-to-week basis. So an example of Widmer's, there was a bar up north in the north side of Chicago where they were, really focusing on local products, local cheeses, local meats. It's more of a gastropub, and they wanted to see something different. And that stemmed from having issues with getting products from Europe. Some of the cheeses that they really loved, they couldn't get, or shipment was very spotty, and they would get it maybe one delivery out of the month. And so it would force them to have to purchase a large amount, and that just didn't work for them. So they sometimes they would have to tell the customers that we didn't have it, and so that didn't work for them. And when they came to me and they asked for some solutions, I was able to present them. So, we have Widmer's Cheese that is produced locally in Wisconsin, less than 2 hours away, and was able to showcase some of their products, and they loved it. And now they can go back to their customers and tell them, we source this cheese just 2 hours away, and we're helping our local farmers, we're helping our local producers, and again, in the end, they get better marketing, they have better connections with the product, their customers enjoy it a little more, and they're able to feel good about themselves by helping local farmers. And then the last partner that I really want to talk about is one that's kind of near and dear to my heart is Salumi Chicago. Greg, the owner, really fun story. He decided to go on a one-way ticket to Italy and learn how to make salami and salumi. But what he really wanted to do was make it the old world style, where it's made with care, time, and all natural ingredients. So what he does is he really focuses on quality as opposed to quantity. So all his salumi is made in small batches to really maximize that quality. And again, because they're made in small batches, he's able to pivot if a batch was made incorrectly. If we had complaints from a customer that said, this didn't come out right, he's able to see that firsthand and determine, okay, what happened here. And I love showing it because, again, it's items that, unlike anything in the market, it has a lot better flavor than the mass-produced items. And the fact that I can say that he's overseeing everything that's being made personally, that he's taking the care, the time. Again, there's no preservatives in all of his product, not a lot, in all of his product. And again, that's something that I love to introduce to our wonderful business partners and customers at Sysco. And when they taste some of these products, they're just blown away by it. And again, it helps them with their business. And I'm here to be able to help our business partners and our customers really be profitable. And that's what I love doing here, and being able to show our homegrown items and products and showcasing these local farmers and producers.
Yeah, that's some great information. And again, I started out this whole presentation talking about the new normal, and the new normal is impacting everyone. It's not just the restaurant industry, the people that work in the restaurants. It impacts the distributors, both large and small. It impacts the manufacturers, both large and small. Everybody's had to make a shift, and that's one of the reasons that we created this program, was to help these smaller farmers and producers, so they can really focus their time and their resources on growing their business and marketing, and making sure that they're getting out in front of their customers and talking about their product and telling the story, because there's always a great story when you go to some of these smaller producers about what they do, and it's mostly family-run businesses. And being able to help them and watch them grow and help these small farmers, that's the reason that we really got into this in the first place. Somebody asked a question here, for the small scale meat raising operations, have we found challenges getting processing through USDA plants? There's always challenges when it comes to that. One of the nice things is that, if you're doing the right things and you have good systems in place, everybody wants to work with these smaller farmers and producers to succeed. So everybody's working together, and we're all trying to just grow our industry and give more options and more opportunities to everybody that wants to be involved. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. All right, so let's talk a little bit about menu psychology. And again, I keep saying the new normal. It's become even more important than ever that we take time to really think about what we want to put on our menu, how we want it to look. I'm sure everybody's seen the trend over the last few years where menus have shrunk, right? It was a necessity, during the pandemic that the menus had to shrink, because there was just so many items you couldn't even source for a long time. But, now that we're able to get those products, people are still running with smaller menus. But at the end of the day, some of the things that you need to think about, so let's talk about profitability for a second. Again, yeah, we are still, being challenged with being profitable and dealing with rising costs. But, we have to make sure that when we're looking at our menu that we have to charge what the product is worth. You deserve to make a profit in your restaurants, and customers, if the product that they're coming to eat is good, they're willing to pay for it. Do your research. Look at the other restaurants in your area. Look at restaurants in neighboring areas. See what they're charging. If you're charging $10 for a burger and the place down the street is charging 14, you have to really dig in and see, am I making enough money on that burger? Can I charge more? Can I make the burger more interesting? Like Ryan was discussing earlier, adding some really cool ingredients on top of that burger and making it a signature burger, because at the end of the day, when people think about coming into restaurants, they're thinking about, God, I really love that sandwich. I had a customer that used to do a pork belly sandwich, and it was like a pork belly Reuben with a sauerkraut and andouille sausage spiked sauerkraut, and then used a remoulade instead of 1,000 for the sandwich, right? And again, he was able to charge more money because it was something that was signature that he was doing. And you know what? People said, I have to have that sandwich. So when you're thinking about your menu, you have to think about the profitability and think about how can I make this work for me and for the customers that are coming in. The other big piece is having a good plan in place when you're rolling out the menu. So you really have to prepare. So we've had to cut staff. So you have to think about, when I'm putting something on the menu, can my kitchen staff effectively prep and produce that in a timely manner so we can get it out of the kitchen in front of the customer quickly? So sometimes you might have to look for some items that are, fully prepared ahead of time. So, instead of, like I said, taking a pork belly and cooking that yourself, you can use a pre-cooked pork belly. There's a lot of products and manufacturers have really come a long way with pre-cooked and further processed items. Fresh bread has been a real challenge, and there's a lot of waste in fresh bread. So, going with a frozen par baked bread that you control the inventory a lot better, that controls your costs. And those are the types of things that you have to really think about as you're designing and creating your menu or making, changes to it. Takeout and delivery are huge right now. It's gone from maybe 20% of a restaurant's business to 40, 50, 60% of a restaurant's business. There's a lot of restaurants that got rid of their dining rooms and went strictly with carry out and delivery and ended up being more profitable that way. So, the other piece is that, the days of just using a foam container, nothing wrong with a foam container, but, when you go to a store and you see that nice black bottom, clear plastic top container, and you can see what that product looks like, the presentation, people eat with their eyes. So, being able to see that when it comes out the door and when they open up that container and say, God, that looks beautiful, just as nice as when I was sitting in the restaurant having that meal, it sells itself. So, it's okay to invest a little bit more and put that into the cost of the dish. So, you really have to start thinking about that, and also having a good plan for how you're going to promote carry out and how you're going to make sure that you can keep up with both the carry out and the in-house service, to make sure that, people aren't having to wait. So you have to have a plan for that. And, the other really big piece is that, we all have our signature dishes, or the dishes that really sell. You really have to take a look at, what is selling and what isn't selling, whether you have a system that can do that, like your POS system that can track what your purchases are. You really have to keep an eye on that. And again, make sure that those best-selling items are definitely, on the profitable side. You can have a loss leader item or two here or there, but, at the end of the day, that becomes more of a challenge than it's ever been in the past. So we need to make sure that every single item is making money for you and is selling. So you have to take a close look at that. And, and we're going to get into a slide next that we're going to talk about technology. And, this is where thinking about that menu, the technology really comes in handy. Okay, so when you talk about online ordering systems and delivery apps, I'm sure everybody that's on this call right now has been on a delivery app placing an order, or you have your own online ordering system. It's more important now than ever to embrace the technology because again, it's another way for you to make money, and it's another way for you to control your costs. The investment that's involved in that will be paid for because you just have more organization, you have more information to go with to determine what should be on the menu, what shouldn't be on the menu, what's selling, what's not, and then how to promote it. So, the online ordering systems, you take a company like Popmenu. One of the cool things about this company is that, not only will they design your website, okay, but they'll also, have the online ordering, and they'll have the guest reviews. They leave reviews right on each menu item. This is all great information that you really need. And the old school way of thinking, well, again, there's a lot of restaurants that have been successful many years doing it, the old school way. It's just, the next generation, you're talking about, Gen Alpha, they're going to be solely, going with technology and looking at things online. So when you're talking about, looking at a review and you go on to Yelp and you read a review about a restaurant, I mean, here, I would venture guess and say that everybody on this call has done that a number of times. Companies like Popmenu, and I'm sure there's other companies out there that do the same thing. They have all the information for you right there, all in one place. And it's all geared towards helping you streamline your business and give you as much information as possible to go out and make good business decisions and get as much profitability and control your costs as much as possible. So you can continue focusing on that customer experience when they're in your restaurant. Some of the other things that I wanted to touch on, if you're doing a manual inventory yourself, consider looking at an automated inventory management software program. The nice thing about that is that all that information is right in front of you, right there. And, it does the math for you. So, definitely a good idea to consider that. QR codes have become very popular. Contactless payments. It's all the wave of the future. The other big one that I think is really cool is these food delivery technology. They've got robots in restaurants now as servers and busboys. So basically, you can program the little robot, and they got some really cool ones. If you get a chance, you should Google the restaurant robots. There's a bunch of companies that manufacture them now. But again, with the shortage of staff, and investing in something like this, it brings the food right out there, and after everybody's done eating, they can put their plates right back on the robot, and it's programmed to go right back into the kitchen. And it just again, it's the world of technology, and we definitely need to embrace it, especially since every penny counts, and we need to make sure that we can spend our time on the high return activities of being in front of our customers and working on the menu and making sure that we're working on marketing and getting the information out to our customers.
Thank you, Ted. I just want to get to these questions before we run out of time here.
Yep, sure.
The question that came in is, do you see these trends changing drastically between spring and fall?
So, that is a good question. I was going to answer that earlier because it came up when Ryan was presenting. And, one of the things about trends is that typically they last a season or two, right? So, but new trends are always popping up. So do I see it changing drastically? Absolutely not. But at the same time, there's always going to be something new. Everybody's looking for a different way to do things, a better way to do things. So, you know, I mean, it's really about just, you know, being creative and doing your research. I mean, that's the key. And you know, again, you know, that's one of the things that I love about working for Cisco is that, you know, we have all these resources to help our customers. And at the end of the day, everybody that you know is on this call right now, that's all we want to do is we want to help you be successful. Everybody from the Illinois Restaurant Association, from Cisco and every other company that we partner with, it's all about you. It's all about helping you and really truly being a resource in every way.
Thank you. We have a question about specific POS or inventory management software platforms. I know there's a bunch out there. Are there different recommendations that you guys work with or have? Is a question that I'll throw to Todd or whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, I'm here. There are different, there are many different ones out there. You know, my suggestion truly is do your research. You know, and like I said, you know, that Pop Menu is one that if you have not had a chance to look at it, their platform is absolutely transformational. I can't tell you how much they have helped so many customers out there. So if you get a chance to take a look at that, it'll be worth your time for sure. Ryan, you got any thoughts on that?
I just want to say, you know, this comes from experience from being for years as an operator is whatever inventory software you decide to go with or technology-based inventory system, you get out of it what you put into it. So the thing is if you're going to do it, make sure you're doing it as accurately as possible. You know, make sure you get yourself a receiving scale. So when you're going in the walk-in cooler and you're getting the weights on your proteins and your vegetables, that they're accurate. And a lot of people use the rule of thumb doing a monthly inventory. I did it weekly. So I get a snapshot every week of what my food cost was, and it's the best way to control your expenses. Is it annoying? You go in the cooler every morning and do that inventory and then go into the liquor room and do it? Sure, it can be, but you have the faith that your numbers are going to be accurate every week, you know, as you pass it on through your accounting software to your accountant. So I would say whatever inventory system you go with is just take full advantage of the properties involved with that and do it as frequently as possible.
Great, thank you. We actually have done similar webinars on that in the past on POS systems, inventory, and accounting. So those are all available on our IllinoisRestaurants.org website. And I just want to remind everyone that you will get this presentation as a PDF sent to you and this recording afterwards, and we are available to answer any questions that we didn't get to today. The contact information for our panelists are on these slides. And I just want to thank Todd, Ryan, and Chef Fu for their time today and all of this important information. I thought it was a lot of information that was great. I'm personally hungry seeing all these slides. And I also want to thank Marisela from the Southland Development Authority and the continued partnership that we have with the Southland and the Cook County Small Business Source. Through this partnership, we provide small business advising, resources, information, and webinars like this. More webinars to come, more resources are always available if you sign up at cookcountysmallbiz.org. And we are here to make sure that your business remains intact and emerges stronger than ever over the past few years and adjusting to, as Todd said, the new normal. So thank you everyone today for joining. Thank you to our panelists. I really appreciate it and I hope everyone has a good day. Thank you.